for this particular section of notes on circles, we're going to transition from graphing circles given the information or the equation to now writing the equation of the circle. So you can see the directions have changed a little bit. So in order for us to do that, we must keep in mind the standard form of the equation of a circle that we learned previously. And so if we start off, we recall x squared plus y squared equals r squared. And this happens when we're dealing with a center point at 0, 0. The second equation that we use as a standard form equation of a circle is when we had a different center point. So we have x minus h plus y minus k squared equals r squared, and of course in this case the center point was at h and k. So as we move forward here, we need to basically decide what type of information has been given to us and then try to figure out which one of the two equations would be best used to write the equation of the given circle. So go ahead at this point in time and stop the video and try to write the equation for the 4 given problems. Okay, if we look at part A, we see that we have a center point at 2, 3. So we now know immediately that we're not dealing with the first form of the equation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by just kind of pre-writing this equation. So we have x minus some number squared plus y minus some number squared equals r squared, and we can see that that r is 5, so that's 5 squared. Now in this particular case, we're dealing with an h of 2 and a k of 3, and since the part of the equation x minus and y minus is already preset into this, we can simply plug in the 2 and the 3, and of course 5 squared can always be rewritten as 25, and this would be the equation of the conic for the circle. Now notice there's no need to break this apart and then FOIL it and condense all this together. If you did that, you would end up with the generic equation for a conic for a circle, very similar to what we talked about at the very beginning of the notes. That is not necessary for the scope of this class. Okay, so let's look at part B. Part B says that we have a center point of 0, 4. This is a little different. We do have 1, 0, but it's not 0, 0. So we're still going to need to use this second equation. So I'm going to preset this again. So I have x minus a value squared plus y minus a value squared equals to r squared. In this case, that's 3 squared. Now what happens here is my h just happens to be a 0. My k is a 4. Now this is going to lead us to condensing this. Anytime we have x minus 0, we do not have to write the 0, so this is going to just simply be x squared. We're going to keep the y minus 4 squared the way it is, and of course we're going to condense 3 squared into 9, and that is the equation of our given circle. The third problem gives us a little different scenario. We have 0, 0. And so that tells us right away that I can use x squared plus y squared. So that's going to make this really easy. So I know it's going to be x squared plus y squared. But here's the problem. They gave us a diameter. And so don't be careful not to be fooled by that. If the diameter is 10, we know that the radius is 5. And of course, 5 squared would give me 25 for the r squared value. And that would be the equation of this particular circle. So just be careful that what they're giving you is consistent with what you need. Okay, and then the last one is probably the most challenging kind. Notice we have a center point. It's not at the origin, so I'm going to use my preset x minus plus y minus equals r squared, which is 4 squared. Now this is where we run into a little trouble sometimes. We have a -2. So if my h is a -2, I need to make sure that I put that in parentheses. My k is also a negative, and so -3 will go into parentheses. And so I need to condense this. And so if you ever see a plus in a circle equation, this is why, because we had a negative value for the h or the k or both. And so as we condense this, we finish with our standard form equation for this given circle. So there's a little bit of practice writing equations of circles given certain information. So we've now seen it graphed, given an equation, and now we've done the reverse of it. So